Hey everyone, just getting ready to start our live heroic episodes with my guest. I'm just making sure we're streaming to all the accounts that I have: Heroic Episodes YouTube, Instagram, also Lisa Regina, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn. We have it all going on, and it looks like, yes, it's all connecting so well tonight. I love it. There must be positive energy in the air. And we're also giving everyone a chance to log on and join us, because we love when you are engaged and you have questions. And I know my guest tonight you're going to love, and you're going to find the innovation and the approaches to mental health and healing so interesting. So, welcome. Here we are live at Heroic Episodes. I'm Lisa Regina, and I'm very excited about my guest tonight, Dr. Joshua Cohen, um, who is a media psychologist, a filmmaker, and pioneer of film and video based therapy, which is an innovative approach combining storytelling and filmmaking and technologies, innovative emerging technologies like VR, to heal trauma, for trauma recovery, and for post traumatic growth. Please welcome Dr. Joshua Cohen. Hi. Of
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that.
course, I appreciate you being here. And I have to add that I am so honored that you asked me to contribute a chapter in your new book. And I just want to thank you again live here for that, allowing me to contribute to something so beautiful and powerful.
I appreciate it. And then, going back to, I think, how we met through Brooke back in, I know it's so sad the way that, she had passed away from cancer, for people that don't know, but Brooke was a shining star in so many ways. And the people that I've met through her, it's just they're all like that, Sean Mulvihill and you and a few others. And it's just, it's amazing what what people, even though she's not here, what still positive energy is going forward because of the things that she set in motion.
Brooke Campbell is smiling right now and very happy, shining down on us. I know it. I had met Brooke through the YWCA when I was keynote speaking, and we collaborated on some works at Keene University. She was a drama therapist and just did beautiful work. And she was on my film set when we had women who had survived violence, and we wanted some support there, which we're going to talk about that tonight, how important that is, because when we
Yeah,
tell true stories of trauma survivors, we want to make sure that we're honoring their story and empowering them and healing them. So,
yeah.
when
I,
I was just going to say, when it comes to your work, I want to jump right into it. I really want to have an understanding, a deeper understanding.
mhm.
Um, what happens psychologically when a veteran or a trauma survivor sees their own experience come to life through story? What happens?
Mhm. Well, going that kind of goes into what they do with virtual reality. And Dr. Skip Rizzo, who did the foreword to both books, the one on trauma and on post-traumatic growth, showed the research again and again shows that when they go into this virtual reality environment where it has sight, sound, smells, and images that look like a video game, it's
Right,
amazing. It's called Brave Mind. It's on several bases. They're not trying to erase memories or anything. What they're trying to do is make it so that when they watch or experience these horrible events again, that
right,
it doesn't have the same emotional impact that can like paralyze them. Because your nervous system, the way it's set up is you have the fight, flight, or freeze response when you, like a deer in the headlights. So when you get the deer in the headlights, thing that happens whenever a car backfires, or if you get that noise,
Yeah,
those kinds of triggers can really stunt and paralyze veterans in a way that they just can't go through life without being very sensitive to these triggers that are everywhere.
right.
And the VR puts them in an environment that they control. And it is like a movie. Skip works with people in the Hollywood area as well as academia and has a contract with the Army. So it allows them to go into an environment and titrate down, meaning they can change different elements of their environment. So when they're done, they experience the fear. That's what sucks about trauma in technical terms. It puts you right back there where you were emotionally. The difference is they are not in danger, and when they feel that, it changes things, so it lessens the impact, and then they can go about their lives.
How many times so I'm just kind of processing all this. Brave Mind, and it's being
Mhm.
used in the Army. How many times would they have to go through a particular, virtual reality session? Like how many, depending on maybe your amount of trauma? Like each individual is different,
I would say that that's going to be different because our nervous systems are very different.
right?
They're normed on usual studies that skip has been cited for about 20,000 times in academic literature. So if people want to look him up uh, in Google Scholar, his name is Albert Skip Rizzo. His real name is Albert. So,
Albert Skip.
but he does publish under Skip in quotes. And you can find any of his work or a lot of his colleagues that he usually publishes with, and see the full text articles if you want to look for those. But it more or less when you get a study, you have to have about 30 people before it becomes statistically significant if you're doing quantitative.
Right.
The kind of work that I like to do with my research is I love quantitative and I love qualitative. So that's a mixed method. That's the lived experience. So if you're talking to like a survivor of trauma, what you want to find out what it's like, but you also want to find out from a statistical outcome if the numbers line up in the probability
Yeah.
sector. Do these have outcomes that were significant if you're testing, let's say, um, in this case, we're testing an app, which is what
Yeah.
we're bringing up today, and the app would then reduce symptoms of post-traumatic stress. The reason I don't call it PTSD is veterans do not like the D, and I don't think it's necessary.
I don't either.
It is
Considering.
for billing, but not for,
Hi,
yeah, go
Rob.
ahead.
Hi, Pam. Just saying hi. Some people are logging on. Um,
Hey,
I know they'll really appreciate everything that you're doing and the work that you're doing with film and video based therapy and virtual reality, which I just find extraordinary. I don't know enough about it, and that's why I appreciate you so much sharing. But I think
okay.
based like on our series that we're developing, heroic
Mhm.
episodes, we are telling true stories of trauma survivors and veterans who have returned home. Hey, Rob, um, just you're right, it's not a disorder. Exactly right, Rob.
Yeah.
And so what factors should we as creators, filmmakers, storytellers, based on your experience and your body of work, what factors should we be aware of, like in order for the impact to be healing for both the participant, the person whose story is coming to life,
Yeah.
and and for the audience who's watching?
I think having a healthy sense of openness, respect for the story, because there's one thing that we would do in digital storytelling, which is a whole other field.
Right,
They would always say before something comes out that might be triggering to the audience, just say, they call it a trigger warning, and say, put your head down, turn away if you have a reaction that you feel is too much for you,
right,
because everyone might react differently to trauma, so they are going to have a chance to self-soothe. And I always encourage that in any kind of exchange where one person might trigger someone else. They listen in a way that's respectful. They let them finish what they're trying to say as much as they can, because there's
Right.
no way to get a full story, but to be able to listen to enough information that you're not just trying to get your word in, you're also trying to be curious about what the other story is about. You may
Right.
not like it or may not agree with it, but at least hear what it is.
Yeah, I worry about anyone who might watch something and it triggers, some experiences that they've had, something traumatic, and not have anyone to go to or talk to afterwards. And that's why I asked that question because I just know when I first started, after my assault, and then started staging my story of survival with a collection of other women's stories of surviving domestic violence.
Yeah.
Um, I just had those survivors in the audience with advocates because I was concerned that they're watching these stories come to life on stage.
Mm.
How are they going to feel? I'm sure they're going to feel raw, emotionally raw. So we brought them backstage and it was interesting. And it was such a good experience because most of them were happy because they recognized their story and they said, I need to change that and I'm going to. They were more inspired to change it. So
Mm.
that's like a good thing that came out of it.
It's so hard to know how we're going to react though until we do. And I think that the best thing that we can do for ourselves first is to forgive ourselves for whatever comes up,
Mm,
and kind of silently give ourselves permission to just observe what we respond to and not judge ourselves for how, because some people might laugh inappropriately too at
yeah,
something, and that might just be their way of coping. Like, hey, because laughter often is a way of pushing something away emotionally, and
right,
that's a way of saying, I can't handle this yet. But if they laugh in a way and they admit to that, they might understand they're not ready, and that's at least being honest. And
right.
sometimes, that might happen, and then you might be crying in the shower later. So however we deal with things is natural. I learned that from Peter Levine's work. He was a friend of Bessel van der Kolk, and Kathy Malchiotti, who did the forward to the first book, worked with van der Kolk, and I think she worked with Levine immediately. She had a book that she wrote about somatic experiencing in art therapy that kind of talks more about that. Somatic experiencing is awesome because it deals with the body. And they both believe that the body keeps the score. That's the name of his New York Times winning bestseller book.
Yeah,
And it works. And a lot of people have asked me, why did you model your books after them? Don't you have your own theory? I said their theory really, first of all, it's a really good theory. And second, people don't know about it yet. They think psychology is something that you do in your head and you don't follow your instincts, you don't listen to your body. They're both equally important. In fact, Joseph
sure.
Campbell said
It's
you want to pay attention more to the body
a
because
body.
this is a secondary organ.
Yeah.
This is what's calling the shots, our heart, our intuition.
It's amazing like a storage, like a hard drive, your body will store trauma and how it'll affect your health, your physical health. Absolutely.
Yeah. I
The I
I
love yoga for that reason.
yes, yoga, stretching, walking. People that are dealing with trauma, I'd encourage them to tell the story. If they get irritated or something later, go take a walk, or put water on you, drink something. And another thing that works is to eat something. When you put or eat something like a mint, they say that it helps ground you because it
Hmm,
releases dopamine, which brings you into the body rather than wanting to hide from it.
that makes
So
sense.
a
That
lot of
does,
people that have been assaulted don't want to be in their body because they feel shame or guilt and negative feelings instead of the
right.
positive things that could happen from eating a mint or looking at a beautiful painting or the
Yeah,
sunset if you're on a walk or something.
or a
Those things,
sunset or the beach, that's why it's so soothing.
yeah, I was just there today, and I was like, I don't want to leave Newport, but I have other stuff to do. But I
I
love.
I saw an experience that they're doing on the beach, actually in Vero Beach, and they have a pianist, and everyone comes to the beach with headsets. So you're listening to the pianist, the music through the headsets, and you're
Mhm.
looking at the ocean, and everyone just looks so chilled out. I'm like, the whole world needs that right now. Just
Yeah, if we had, that's what I honestly just hit the nail on the head of what I wanted to say in the next book. That's the whole book right there. Is if we are in a better frame of mind, we'll be able to listen to more of the story of what's going on, and we're going to make better decisions if we know more. Because what happens if you're making a trauma response, you make a decision that you're going to probably regret, but
yeah.
you feel like you need to make a decision. I
Mhm.
want to call the book Holding the Space with Film and Video Based Therapy, saying that we can use our technology to not to hold off until we know more in order to make a better decision.
Yeah.
And that's
That
really hard to do.
love that. I do love it because right now everything's so, a reflex, immediate reflex, based
Yeah.
on why I'm just what made you ask me to contribute
Oh, well, I mean, when I met you at the beginning, before you had the other pilot programs, I was so impressed with Right to Heal and the strength that you showed and the courage that you showed through writing and narrative. I said, this is one of, because when I met Brooke, we were talking about Joseph Campbell and his writing. And when you came along, I forget exactly how we were introduced, but it was like, okay, this is exactly what we
yeah.
need for the
Well, it
book.
was Brooke Campbell introduced us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't remember the exact moment, but I was like, I remember meeting Brooke on the cruise that I was on for a conference where I was presenting on the military stuff. And that was Benjamin Patton's work at the time. He had contacted you later, and
Yes,
you're
Dr.
okay.
Pamela Arnell made a connection to Ben
Oh,
Patton as well. Yeah. It's
and what he does with these multi-day filmmaking workshops is, they do stories by making movies, not like what digital storytelling does. So in the first book, I had all those different elements that we were trying to put together, but I forgot the question. What you were asking, I lost track.
It's okay. I'm reading Pam. She said Lisa's a fierce advocate, has passion for armed forces, first
Yeah.
responders. Yes, I do, Pam, and so do
Oh,
you.
you asked why I brought you in, and
Yeah,
you embody narrative. Literally, you were showing writing on your body, and you were holding out your arm, saying like, "I'm going to tackle this. I'm going to be vulnerable, but I'm going to be strong, and I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to use narrative and working." That all you said that all with that image, and you also did the
yeah,
work. You did the work, and that's basically what this is about. Is it's not about academia, it's not about trying to pretend, it's saying there's a lot of work to be done individually and internally, and you did
and
that.
thank you. Thank you again for allowing me to contribute to your book. Can you explain in a couple like sentences what is film and video based therapy, the book, like
Mhm.
who's in that collective work?
Yeah, film/video based therapy is therapeutic filmmaking, VR, AI, and media psychology. In a nutshell, it's an umbrella term.
Right.
Therapeutic filmmaking became the term that Lauren Johnson did in the pilot study in 2008, where you make movies, not digital storytelling, which is different, but it's making actual films with people to heal them in a way that is sometimes involves therapy or a license. To give an example, she was a mother without, well, she had an unplanned pregnancy during her dissertation time, uh, when she was getting her PhD, and the research showed there was like no hope, and she was going to lose her. Everything would have to be given up, and so all the research was bleak. She didn't think that way. She said, "I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to survive, and I'm going to have this baby and I'm gonna, give birth to a whole career as well. And she did because she believed in herself. And I think the filmmaking allowed her to create that reality because the research didn't really show that that was going to happen. And that's why her resilience came through when she did that. She won an award for like the best Canadian dissertation for that.
Wow.
And now she's married and has two kids and is living wonderfully in Canada, in Alberta. And so she taught me about therapeutic filmmaking when I did my dissertation. So I invited her to co-edit the book with me. And
Nice.
before we could finish it, she also got pregnant again, and I was having to finish the book on my own. So we brought in Penny Orr, who's an art therapist, to help finish the last part. I said, "No way you're going to drop out of this book. I'm going to carry this for you. You're going to take care of your baby, and I'll take care of this one." And it
Well,
did. It worked out beautifully.
it's a beautiful book and quite an accomplishment, and I'm, again, just so grateful to be part of it. I wanna dive into virtual reality
Yeah.
because I wanna know from your point of view, like, and based on your work and your experience, do you think that virtual reality is going to be the approach to mental health? A new it's a new tool, right, that we're exploring
Mhm.
and you're exploring. But do you think it'll someday kind of take over and be used as the primary way to treat mental health?
It is used a lot already. There's companies called Sias, now called Amelia, where therapists, and this is what's kind of cool about it, is normally when a patient is saying, "Hey, I'm having trouble with anxiety. I go on the train and I just flip out or I
Yeah.
get anxious." The therapist doesn't know what they're talking about. They have to imagine it with, just images in their mind. With
Right.
VR, they can sit right with them and watch as a simulation unfolds. I saw this on this lady in King's College did this with a patient
Uh-huh.
named Alike Giddy Jeffs. It was done in a journalistic fashion, so I could tell you his name. I actually met him later,
So the
um,
therapist is sitting there while
watching it happen.
watching it happen. So if I have great anxiety with crowds, which I do,
Yeah.
like massive events,
Hmm.
I would fall into this virtual reality world in a massive concert with thousands of people,
Yeah.
and the therapist who's there would be watching how I respond to that. Okay,
Exactly.
but how does that help? How
Well,
does
when he was doing this, he was sitting on the train and he said, "It looks like that guy's following me."
mm,
And it's just a simulation. And she said, "Well, it could be, and let's see what happens. And let's just pay attention to it and see if, but notice," she's like, "notice your reaction to it. Like, are you getting nervous and whatnot? And if not, if you're not nervous enough, can we amp up the, like some of these programs let you play a heartbeat in the background and,
oh
to
wow,
make it more crowded
yeah,
or less." And that helps them because then they can see what the reaction is in real time without any danger of it being real. The
right,
thing about VR is it could be a cartoon and I could look out the window and you could say, "Okay, jump." And I know I would be fine. I'm not going to do it though, because
right.
it feels to your sensory perception that you're up very high, and it works on fear of heights. It's great for occupational therapy. I mean, there's so many different uses of it.
Are they using, the VR in the military? Is that what Brave Mind
Yes,
is? That's a
absolutely, for active duty as well.
okay,
And that's why it's on Army bases. If we have enough time, I can show you a little clip from what
sure.
Skip Rizzo did, and because I know we can share stuff. Um,
Pamela, Dr. Pamela Arnella's question, Dr. Cohen, how
sure,
would it compare to gaming? I know a lot of armed forces
great question.
who are involved with gaming.
Yeah, and that's where it's a little different. You're not shooting anything, but you do carry a gun. And here's let me share the screen so we practiced this earlier.
Okay,
So
sounds good.
we can see this one. Can you hear that? I mean, can you see that? This is
Let me
Lynn
s I think I have to
Crandall who did the forward, and this is a little bit about Brave Mind.
okay.
I don't
You
know
play
if you'll
it?
be able to hear
Wonder
it.
Yeah, I wonder if it'll play.
Let me make sure that I'll stop the share so that I can do the audio, and I'll play a little clip
Did
from
that
it.
did that kinda answer your question, what you were thinking? We'll give her a chance to type there. I just think it's extraordinary and it's interesting, and I can imagine that I just
Oh,
I
this is the
oh, let
oh,
me add
sorry.
that there.
Oh wait, no, that's his other. Yeah, this is the one you want to see.
Oh, wow. So they are immersed in that world.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it literally can see it.
Yeah, I can't hear it, but I can definitely see it. Mhm.
Uh-huh. I don't know if they can hear it or not because I said share the audio as well.
Okay.
So I'll pause this. Let's skip. He did our forward, and yeah, that's it goes into more detail later, but that's the environment that they're dealing with. It's like a video game, and they're holding a gun. They're in an environment that is hostile, but they control the outcomes. This is the difference than before. So if a
Yeah,
IED or something goes off or a grenade, they can say enough. I don't want any more of that. Let me get rid of it. Or if they're okay, they can do more things. But when all is said and done, they are in a safe environment when all this happens. So
right.
it's teaching the body not to overreact because they're okay and they're being held. And that is vitally important that the body
Yeah,
understands. Mhm,
I'm just thinking about what you said earlier when you said, like, deer in headlights because,
mhm,
you're either going to freeze or
mhm.
you go into that fight or flight mode, and,
Yeah,
um when I was assaulted, I couldn't nothing came out of my mouth. I couldn't scream. And I always think about that day, how I was trying and nothing would come out. And I've
mhm,
never been a quiet person. I've always been, confident or, living in New York City over 30 years, going on the train and auditions and not having a fear of that. But to be in that place where someone was physically, attacking me and I couldn't scream. That was just the worst feeling. It makes me sick when I think about it because it was just uh, nothing.
yeah. And
And
that's what trauma does is it silences people.
mhm,
And that's what attackers want in essence is they want to silence people. And what is amazing about like artwork and art therapy is they've shown that, and first of all, I'm sorry still that you had to go through all that, but what an amazing story came out of that. And it's important that you couldn't talk because think about like talk therapy depends on that. If
mhm,
you use art therapy or film and video therapy, this is a key moment right here. Film and video therapy is to help somebody get past that point where they can't talk because the language portion of the brain in trauma can't access the corpus callosum where right and the left talk to one another. It's cut off. The
cut off.
language portion is cut off during trauma because your nervous system is so dysregulated. The whole
Fright
point of what I'm doing is to bridge the right side and the left side of the brain together to breathe like a healthy organism again so they can get out of the freeze response and be able to talk and build a therapeutic alliance with their therapist. That's what I do. It's not
right.
that I'm teaching it now. If
I'm
if we
I'm
get
just
to the
gonna
point,
jump back real quick to Pamela's question because I know
yeah,
she's engaged and she's asking not I asked if it answered her question. She said, "Not really. I'm wondering how it would compare to gaming where they have a bond with other armed forces with gaming and are
yeah,
connected with other veterans. also, is it possible to have a veteran trained to do the simulation? Okay, so she's talking about the first part and then
Well, there's two things going on. There's the VR aspect, which is you've got a gaming console kind of, and you've got a therapist that is just kind of sitting there. The the film and video part, or the art therapists, what they do is not the same kind of intervention. It's more about getting your feelings out. This is about getting over your fears,
but
and
do
two
they
different things.
ever put veterans working together? I think that's what Pam's asking on
It's
this
usually it's individuals usually.
usually.
Groups are I've never seen it in groups.
Also, is it possible to have a veteran trained to do the simulation? Oh,
Um,
I
like
think what
like
she's
what
getting
do you
at, well,
yeah,
let me just, I think I'm getting what, because I know Pam and I know the work that they're doing at 22-0, and that's peer-to-peer coaching. So that's veteran to veteran. And we know that there's a natural, of course, trust bond there, right? So is that what you mean? Yes, Lisa.
yeah,
Yes.
I've actually worked with a couple of companies. One is called Peer Mental Health, where we had veterans that would help one another, and the other one is still up and running. It's called Painted Brain. I don't have the link to that one still, but they have a veteran training program where they also try to get them jobs, and they've been around for like probably like 20 years now. They work with the tech.
I can see what Pam's saying though, because like when I first interviewed a Vietnam veteran, the first thing he said to me, he said, "Wait, before you turn that camera on, what the
Yeah,
F what the F do you know about Nam?"
exactly.
And I said, "Nothing. That's why I'd like to interview you, but I do know something about trauma."
Mhm.
And then I shared my story, and then we immediately, bonded. He trusted me and he opened up to me, and we had a beautiful interview, and we still have a friendship to this day. So, you
Yeah,
know,
and I've been through quite a bit. In my experience, I've seen quite a bit. The
yeah.
reason and I told you about it before, the reason that I got into this was I had a patient once that he committed suicide by police, fire. And I didn't know that's what he was planning on doing. He had talked about it several times that he wanted to continue to run missions. So he talked about it in terms of a dream. What he
Mhm.
was really doing is he was planning on ending his life by having them shoot him and running these missions. And he did. He died that way. And so when I found out about it, I mean, I was horrified. You lose someone that you're close to, and then I mean, we processed it in a group of about 20 people. Usually they ask us what we wanted to talk about. I'm usually very quiet during these things. And I just spoke right up and said, I need to talk about this. This is really, and it turned out a lot of other people were very upset at the way that particular hospital was handling it by not giving us enough information because we
Right.
wanted to process it and we wanted to deal with it. And then I talked to my supervisor later after we spent about 2 hours as a group kind of helping each other deal with certain, that case. And my supervisor said something really important. He said, "You're not responsible for him, you're responsible to him." And
Mm.
that's the way I internalized all of it later. I said, I want to help people still. I can't help him, but I can help other veterans later with simulations rather than them actually having to enact this need to run missions. And that's what VR does. It allows people to go on these missions and not have to really risk their life for it because that was a real need to follow through with something.
Yeah. Do you think that virtual reality and this approach will ever become part of military training? I mean,
Oh,
like
it's absolutely what
going
I just showed you was on a base. It's in several bases. I didn't show the beginning of the thing, I'm sorry, but it does. Um,
Do you know how many bases across the country have it right now?
mhm. Yeah, let me show you the beginning because it shows you like a little map, and then I can go from there. But Brave Mind was designed as a collaborative project with the Institute of Creative Technology and at the University of Southern California. the Army and some, I guess, Hollywood writers and people involved with it. I don't know
War
if
is among the
you hear
most
that.
demanding challenges a human being can experience, even for the best prepared military personnel.
Can you hear any of
Reports
that?
say 1 in 5
Yes.
Iraq and
No, okay.
Afghanistan veterans
They're just
are
talking
diagnosed
about
with some level of post traumatic stress. But
how
how to help is
stressful
not
the
always clear.
military is. So this is through ICT Institute for.
BraveMind is a form of virtual reality exposure therapy that combines video game based simulations with one of the most widely used evidence based therapies. Making use of the University of Southern California
So it makes
Institute
use
for
of
Creative Technologies expertise in
University of
immersive
Southern
technologies
California's
and emotional storytelling.
technology, as well
BraveMind
as
is a treatment option with
uh,
appeal for
Pam
today's
can hear it.
generation.
yeah, I think they're going to show the
BraveMind
map
gradually recreates trauma relevant scenarios that clinicians can use to help
that these
patients
people can
confront
get that sort of
and
an idea.
process difficult memories in a safe and supportive environment.
It's going to show up eventually, but
More than
it's
just sights
done
and
throughout
sounds,
the country.
BraveMind
It's
uses a
the whole
virtual
point.
reality head mounted display
And there's the
with
head
directional
mounted
3D
display,
audio,
which they have more
vibrations, and smells to
updated
generate a
ones
truly
now. This
immersive
is like
recreation of
20
the
years
event
old
that
almost
can be
now.
regulated at a pace the patient can handle.
It's been around that long.
help
Been around that
people
long.
to
They
go
have
back
new.
to the things that they were
Here he's saying
traumatized
that
by,
people will
help them to
they'll
confront
help
those
them to
things, to face
confront
them,
and
to talk
deal with
about
their
them. By this
traumas
process of doing this
by
repetitively
doing it
over
repetitively.
time,
Over
what you
time,
see is a
you see a
gradual
decline
in
in
the
some of the trauma
anxiety or the fear
responses.
response.
Here
Currently
it is.
deployed at over 50 sites,
These are the
including
50
VA
sites that
hospitals,
it is
military hospitals,
deployed at.
and university research clinics. This
Wow.
exposure therapy
Yeah.
system has been shown to produce a meaningful.
So you can see that it's been out there for a while,
Yeah.
and the work it's doing good work, and the fact that he
Did,
is.
I mean, I see Pam's on here. Did you realize it was being used?
Oh yeah.
I,
When I brought Skip on board for the forward, I wanted him to see what narrative could do, because he works with exposure to things that are solid, and by kind of nudging it in this direction, he loves it. And that's why I wanted him to see like what a right to heal could add to virtual reality, rather than them just sitting down and experiencing something coming at them. Now they could write something different. They could write a new reality, and narrative therapy has its own tradition. So hopefully they'll, and he does have, like there's a VR movie that they made with some of the veterans where they use that technology to tell a story. So I've seen them do it, and
yeah,
it's amazing.
it is
And this is
amazing.
where I want it to go in the future, is that they'll have a story and they'll be able to tell it in VR. And we are almost there with AI.
So, with creators, filmmakers, storytellers like myself,
Mhm.
and next week I'll have on Nicole Amelia Casper. Make sure I got her name right.
Oh,
Yes, I've been communicating with her, and she's a director, producer, Nicole Emilio Casper, award-winning, and her project, Resilience Warriors. It's a docu-series. Now, for someone like Nicole, myself, and others, how do we, talking about like responsibility, how do we honor these beautiful stories, inspirational stories of resilience, survival, and make sure that we don't re-traumatize someone, trigger them? How do we honor them? My instincts led me just to have like advocates on set as I was filming sensitive subject matter in my films. But any any thoughts on that? Any guidance for creators to be more, responsible and honor?
yeah. Well, you do that when you talk to people. You honor them, you listen, and it's like you dance with them in a way, like what you said to me and kind of prompted me to come up with my story. But I never felt judged. I never felt like put off by it. It did the opposite. And I think that will happen a lot, is people are going to want to share at exponential levels with that kind of nurturing environment. So it's almost the opposite of what you're saying. It's how do we keep them from getting triggered? They're going to want to. The difference is you don't want them to go over threshold where something could happen where they're too triggered. But the ability to do that really comes from intuition, resourcing. The best way I would say is resourcing, and that in somatic experiencing, these are like body workers. You have to think like, how would a yoga person ground you? You know, they would have you not be in the most awkward position forever, but they would teach you both, like how to relax the
Yeah,
nervous system, but also how to push it and stretch it a little bit.
right.
So when you get to the point where it's like, oh, I think you've stretched a little bit too much, let's soften it a little bit. That's the kind of nuance that we keep people from getting over threshold, is think of it like yoga. And
Yeah,
that's
I like that analogy. I do because I love yoga. But I mean, I've met many, especially women, when I first started to become an advocate, a keynote speaker, who never told their story, and they said they just never could and they didn't want to.
Mhm.
And they shared that with me and they said, "I'm not telling you this because I want to share my story with you. I'm just telling you that I've held it for 40 years in
Yeah.
inside, and I have no desire to share it." But one woman that I'm thinking of, when she said that, of course, I said, "I understand. And if that works for you, I respect that, but if you ever do want to share it, I'm here in trust, in confidence if you'd like to."
Yeah.
And that woman walked away and I thought, why did she make it a point to come to me and say that she held her story in silence for 40 years? Was it because she's struggling to think that maybe she wants to, but she doesn't know how to? Like, why would
Mhm.
you say that,
Yeah, I think
Eh,
what you're saying there is, and this is why I love what you're doing with heroic episodes, is it gives people a chance to tell a story through fiction in a way. And
Mhm.
so what Benjamin Patton does with those stories is they all get to tell a fictional story. A lot of times what the trauma will, and they've done this in clinical trials on their program, is that it works because the stress is reduced when they work together, but it also helps um, to listen, to empower, and collaborate. Those are the three pillars that he talks about. And
Right,
so I think it's also working because when you tell a fictional story, you don't have to tell your real story. That's
right.
a big part of somatic experiencing, is you don't need for people to know your intimate details to
Mhm.
just describe how the body is reacting.
That
It
makes
wo
total sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I'm going back again, when I adapted the women who were struggling in domestic violence, I
mhm,
adapted their stories to stage
mhm,
monologues for actors to perform, but I changed their story, location
yes,
names. I used a lot of symbolism things where sitting in the audience, they knew which story was theirs,
yeah,
but it was protecting their details of their story, their privacy.
and
Yeah,
they'll know personally that you touched on something personal up there that nobody knows about but them, and
yeah,
that's a beautiful thing. Because then they will feel recognized. That's important with
yeah,
trauma, is that they're recognized, but not vulnerable to the point where they're terrified. That's
yeah.
not helpful. So I think that answers your question. Hopefully, you don't want them vulnerable to the point that they're terrified and immobilized. That is not good.
Right. No, we want to heal and empower.
But you do want to stretch things a little bit, like yoga. You want it to burn a little bit in a way so that you get the stretch. You don't want to break the muscle. You just want it
Yeah,
to feel like it's going through that kind of growth. That's why I'm focused on growth, because growth is uncomfortable, but it's healthy that they go through it so that they can come out the other side and be better for it, rather than hiding from it and having it control them. They control it.
I love that. Absolutely. And it's just a beautiful thing how powerful storytelling is, and how we came together and everything that we're doing. Is there how I have your film and video based therapy.com up.
Yeah.
Uh, if you want to throw out any social media handles or any other websites or links, please do.
I think this one, for now, I think for now that would be enough, because I want to throw out a shout out to the people that have helped us, along the way. Um, as far as the book is concerned, the support we got from Lynn Crandall, all of the people. I just want, no effort is ever done alone. And the kind of work that you're doing is very, very difficult. So you surrounded yourself with a really good team. This app that we're developing hopefully will help support you guys in what you're doing. We really didn't have enough time to talk about that yet, but all it would have
Wanna share
talked
that?
about is the same thing. Oh, do we have time?
Yeah.
Oh, we do. Okay, we have an app that we're developing to make film and video based therapy a little bit more clear, so people can say, "Oh, it's an app. What does it do? It does film to
Yeah.
video based therapy." That'll
Everyone
be
has apps on their phone. We know what they are.
yeah, we know what apps are, and this is sort of like a version of helping people that may not be fluent with film learn to just start out and try it out. And some people that are also very fluent with like cinematography but aren't familiar with post production might like it because it gets them at a basic level, but also honors their production level at the advanced level for like cinematography. So you get
Yeah.
a little bit of all that. I could share the screen on that one just really
Yeah,
briefly.
please do.
I've got
Which
it
one
queued
was
up
it?
on
Yeah.
right now. I've got it queued up on your part where it's going into journaling. So this is like the right to heal section. This is just a prototype app, but later on it will get developed to something more um, private in terms of like HIPAA compliant and everything. So people would be able to be on set afterwards and write about the reflection of that day in the journaling app right here. So you could
I
type
love
in,
that.
and then this journal entry would come up under your section.
Love that. So, for example,
Mhm.
we're on heroic episodes. Once we start filming, we're employing veterans.
Yeah.
We're empowering trauma survivors, those teens that are living in
Mhm.
volatile environments. Um,
Yes.
they spend a day with us on our film set, and then they go to their app and they can journal about what
Yes.
the day was like, the impact that it had on their life.
And that gives them a chance to have a log of their reflections. So a lot of creativity, I believe, comes from reverie. That meaning that you're kind of like looking out the window or, just kind of reflecting on things passively.
Yes.
I don't feel that a lot of people in Hollywood lately have had the chance to do that by the kinds of films that have been coming out. But
No.
I wish that because it's not as playful as it used to be.
No,
Now,
that's a whole nother episode that we
that's a whole episode right there. But this is what this app could help with in just this portion.
I
Um,
love it.
the intensive journal method is another form of journaling that was developed with Ira Progoff and Carl Jung. And they have access to or link anyway to his website where you could actually take these workshops to learn more about how journaling can help you. And that's just one little part of the app. We don't have enough time to go through all of it, but the dashboard I wanted to show for people that are in production or have never done anything but Facebook or social media content. Let's say you are into that, you could go to post production here, and we've got these different tier levels.
Okay.
So, like most people are familiar with iMovie or
Sure.
different
CapCut.
things. Yeah,
Mhm.
so that's like a basic level of someone who's not even a hobbyist in some case, because CapCut is like you're an advanced, you're working in acting at a level that's very high production level, and your production in teams are how to do all these tiers. So CapCut can be used, but if you go into more advanced like digital storytelling, you're
Right.
at tier 2 now with WeVideo, Filmora. DaVinci Resolve, I think, is only there because it's free, but DaVinci can be very powerful. It's a really good tool.
Yeah, I've
And
never used it, but, Filmora, I've used that, yes. So
and
the journaling, can they combine it with the
yeah,
video and images that they took? Let's say they were on our film set and, we have a veteran who took some pictures or images and then goes back and journals in the app. They could
yeah,
add the video from their experience?
it would help to enrich their own experience on the more technical parts of the production. I
Mhm.
think the main people that get the most out of film and like therapeutic filmmaking would still be the actors because they're going through the most transformation. But
Right.
everyone, including writers, go through quite a bit too in a different way, and everyone has a different experience on set. If for some reason someone while working on this does get triggered, we've got the crisis support line. Um, it's just another way of like reminding people that
Yeah.
there are always resources, and that's part of the
I
that's
like
always part
you
of the
brought
app,
up
the
that.
988, and there's
Mhm.
a lot of safety numbers, by the way, so out there.
That's
We
awesome.
and then the tier three would be, now we're getting to Adobe Premiere Pro, Final Cut Pro, Avid Media Composer, Baselight, and professional colorists. Then also below that, I have film and video-based therapy resources like EMDR and cinematic editing, post-traumatic growth. So then the last piece, of course, is just for post-production is you're going to be getting um, post houses and unions and getting into the real professional stuff that is like beyond it's already like 411 stuff or the LA
Right.
411. But the idea is so that people could enter at any level and be able to say, look, I may not understand all that complicated stuff. I just want to mess around, and that would give them the freedom to play, which is
Yeah.
where I think the whole app has the most power, is that it doesn't require that you have a lot of technical knowledge. It just means that you want to dream and play. But if you do get more technical, it will meet you at where you're at. And
Awesome.
that's why we want to test it by raising funds to make it more robust and all these other things. We can test it with heroic episodes to see how people use it with the journaling and the resources to help the producers and everyone down the line to
Right.
have the app.
I
And
love
then
that. Thanks for
and
sharing that.
yeah, so when we get down to the nuts and bolts of it, I don't want to give away all the trade secrets, but the basic, that's the partnership that would help fund the production, because we have 3 books behind the app. Not that the app is that amazing, but the research and the stories behind it can be
Right.
put to an actual format instead of something that's just kind of
Yeah.
abstract.
And it makes sense. I mean, that it would be an app. I mean, it just, it brings it into the world we're in. I mean,
Yeah.
I look at my phone sometimes and I'm like, what is this app? I didn't even know it was on there. What does this do? The Platform Magazine. Hi, how are you? Thanks for joining us. Um, we're here with Dr. Joshua Cohen, and we've been diving into virtual reality as a tool for mental health, how it's being used in the armed forces and military bases across the country, and also, of course, film and video-based therapy. Dr. Cohen's book, actually, this is the third or fourth book with the same title. Is it your
This is we're working on number 4. This is 3.
three?
So there are 3 books now, and they are in about the first one's in about 165 libraries worldwide. And I'm very proud of the fact that it's in certain, I'm not going to talk about which ones, but there's certain countries that are very divisive normally, and they're in both. So it shows that when you deal with trauma, you're not dealing with politics, you're dealing with human beings. It's
Exactly. The background may change, but that trauma is there. And yeah, thanks for pointing that out. That's amazing. And that's very hopeful, you know,
yeah.
very hopeful. But anything that you want to share before we wrap up tonight? We did go longer, which I love because I
Oh,
can talk to you for hours. I find this really fascinating, inspiring, and I mean, it's, storytelling, it's film, it's healing, it's everything that is part of my life, my world, what I love, and what it does for others. So, that's the part that fuels us, right? Right, Josh?
yeah.
That
I mean, I get into trauma because I think that once we get through the stuff that makes us cringe or hurt, that's where most entertainment draws from, those unseen places that most people don't want to go to. And that's what entertainment does for people, is it takes them there so that they can work through it or they can enjoy their lives again. Comedians do it a different way. It's the
Right.
same kind of thing. It's these dark places we know that we need to deal with, but they do it for us or they do it with us, and we all feel better because of it, because we've had a shared experience with all these other people. Oh, thank God that you mentioned that. I didn't want to bring it up. They,
Yes.
the entertainers, know how to do it.
Yeah,
And
and you just reminded me of Laughter Saves Lives, a
yeah,
nonprofit, John Larecchio, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, but, Eddie Molina at his post in, South River, New Jersey, he had, John and his comedians there, and
mhm,
significance is, John lost a lot of his firefighters during 9/11
mhm,
and found that laughter was the one thing like they all shared together at the firehouse and
yeah,
then carrying that on even after so much loss and using it as a way to heal. And
that's perfect. A segue into what I'm doing in my next project. I'm working on this as a media psychologist for LaughMD, and we just finished a clinical trial
oh,
showing
wow.
that it actually reduces pain. It was published actually by my dad, who is a pain doctor, and he published it in Cranio, which is shows that laughter reduces pain even long term. And this in Taylor and Francis. In the next book, I'll be writing it up from a biopsychosocial model because I'm going to get the data directly. It's just amazing how
It's
we
amazing.
all affect one another. Laughter literally is the best medicine. We've got Patch Adams on the advisory board, um, and now they're using it for chemotherapy uh, to relieve the pain from that. What
Beautiful.
you
I
guys
love
do as entertainers is amazing. The last note that I would want to say, leaving all this, is that if people cannot give up on their highest ideal, you may not get it, but please, in the very beginning stages of when you're forming ideas, don't compromise. Be bold, people, and dream big because there's no harm in doing that.
No, totally, and, I remember someone said to me, this was many years ago, I think it was right before the first film I ever, produced, wrote, directed. It was low budget, Kenny. It was about, a friend that I grew up with that was born with ichthyosis, is a skin disease,
Yeah,
and, they said, "Lisa, you dream too big." And I just went, "What? No, never, never, never pay attention to that nonsense, right? Dream big."
yeah. And then when life happens, you can compromise as you go, but not at the beginning stages.
Right.
That's not healthy. It's not healthy to think that you can have everything you want either. But the first step shouldn't be some little kid uh, somewhere going, God, I hope I make it to middle management and work in, janitorial. And, like that shouldn't be their dream at third grade. And, that is a good job, by the way, because those guys make a lot of money.
I
But the
just
idea, I don't want to
Yeah, I
disrespect.
want to jump in real quick because Pam has a couple. I may have missed it, but will the research be mixed method to gather the veteran stories with the app? Going back to
Usually, well, because the research is already done now, the app is coming after we've done the 3 books. So the mixed method is done in several different articles and different chapters. So we've done statistical outcomes where I've had people from the American Psychological Association. We have people from the VA that have written for us and in other books. And we've had people in multiple different quantitative and qualitative researches, but my favorite is mixing so that
mix.
you get the lived experience from someone, but you
Yeah.
also get the hard data from the statistical outcomes.
And with heroic episodes, will it be the same approach, like mixing
We-
that?
We're going to collect data through the app, which is why I would like it to get a grant for it, so that we can have a HIPAA compliant form that will keep the data safe and secure, and also so that because that right there is going to take a little while to develop. This is just a
Sure,
prototype that I developed so I can show people what it looks like, but we're going to develop it so it can be robust enough that people's privacy will be honored,
sure. And also,
and so we can collect the data. Sorry, incorrect of both kinds.
some people say firefighters laugh at the wrong things like law enforcement, but laughter is what we use at the fire and rescue here. Pamela Arnell is a first firefighter, and she's referring to Tennessee, where she is. Yeah, and I think also the first time I was exposed to military humor, I
Mhm.
went to the film Range 15, Matt Best, I think it was, and um, Joe Dames, Army Ranger, who brought me with him as his guest. Uh, there were very few civilians there in the audience, and afterwards the rap party, and the humor was dark. It was
Yeah,
dark, and he kept looking at me, going,
they got to go there. They got to go there, and that's why
"Are you okay?"
the
Don't
best
look back.
healing, and that's what I was trying to say at the beginning about film and healing, is the best healing is when you have that human connection with either the therapist, another peer,
Yes,
it's not the work itself, it's not the machinery of it, it's the connection. That's the
yes,
healing part. So
absolutely.
when you talked about like how you were frozen at that one point, look at you now. You've healed because you connect to people and you connect very well.
Yeah, and we're having people right here commenting and connecting. And Vince Beauvais says, I'd like to thank you both for all your comments. I see myself in a lot of it. Thank you. Thank you, Uncle
Awesome.
Vince.
The last thing that I would say, like for the evening, is this is a quote I came up with: is one person's kind words and reassurance could change another person's life, and that could have a ripple effect on the world.
Well said, and so true, and so beautiful. And I personally believe that's why God wants us to be here for each other and help each other. And that keeps me going every day. And thank you, Scott Purdy, fellow actor who's doing amazing projects. I see you're always acting, Scott. I love it. And yeah, I think that that connection, is so important. And um, when I was following my assault, feeling isolated, alienated, the most dangerous time. And thank God family, came to get me and surrounded me and was, they were there to lift me up and love me. And that's what I just want to leave everyone with, that, that connection and that support is essential, and that's how we're built as humans, and we're meant to be there for each other. Thank you so much, Dr. Joshua Cohen, film
Thank
and
you.
video based therapy. I am honored again to have contributed a chapter to your book. I think I was nervous about it, honestly, and you really guided me through it and recognize the value in the work that I've been doing and how we could collaborate together. And I look forward to so much more collaboration with you. I could talk to you for hours. Thank you. And
Likewise.
thank you to everyone that joined us tonight. I hope to see you next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. My guest will be Nicole Emilio Casper. She's an award-winning filmmaker. She's working on a docu-series, Resilience Warriors Rise, and she will be here, and we will continue the conversation about film, storytelling, and healing. See you next Thursday. Stay on, Josh.